Busch Gardens is an exciting 335-acre animal-themed park located in the heart of Tampa, Florida. It is home to some of Florida's best roller coasters and thrill rides. And here's some things that we wish we knew before going to Busch Gardens. The first thing is pricing. Sometimes the pricing for Busch Gardens is best if you purchase it directly through the Busch Gardens website, because they often run sales all throughout the year. So be sure to check there first, but also be sure to check a couple of other websites. Sometimes the best deals are found on Groupon, and another great place to find Florida theme park tickets is undercovertourist.com. And finally, more often than not, the best deals are found through Entertainmentscom, and that's because there's an annual subscription fee for subscribing to Entertainmentscom. The fee is quite minimal, and also they typically offer 1 month free subscription, which would allow you to have access to all of the deals that are available on their app within 1 month's period of time. And what we found is that the deals were enough to justify purchasing the subscription. I'll place a link in the description below to an article on our website outlining the best pricing for deals on Busch Gardens tickets. Actually, a very minor detail that we wish we knew prior to arriving at Busch Gardens is that there's a courtesy tram to transport you from the parking lot to the actual theme park. Many creators and vloggers gloss over this, but as parents of small children, we wish we had known this before we loaded up our stroller. By then, it didn't seem like it was worth it for us to unload our stroller and climb onto the tram and then ride all the way over to the theme park. So we decided that we would go for a walk. It's actually a very long walk. Another thing is that Busch Gardens, because of the animal aspect combined with the theme park attractions, is a huge destination for school, field trips, and summer camps. So don't be surprised when you pull in if there might be bus loads of kids getting out all at the same time as soon as the park opens. While this can seem a little overwhelming at first, don't worry. The park is actually quite large enough to accommodate these crowds. We were pleasantly surprised to see that the crowds dissipated as we continued into the park. If you just don't linger in the front of the park for too long, then you'll do well getting past all of the crowds. One of the recommendations that we have for navigating those crowds is to make sure to eat lunch pretty early in the day to get ahead of those large student groups. Another really important key for navigating Busch Gardens is to make sure to download the app. And I know that this is pretty simple, but it can be easily overlooked. This app is great because it gives you a wonderful map of the park, and it also communicates to you the various roller coaster wait times throughout the day, so you'll be able to better plan how to spend your time. Another thing when it comes to rides at Busch Gardens is that locker rental is almost mandatory if you're going to be riding the roller coasters. I know that lockers are a pretty common thing at amusement parks, but on the vast majority of the roller coasters at Busch Gardens, you are not allowed to carry your belongings onto the rides. If you're going to ride a lot of roller coasters at Busch Gardens, it is worth it to pay for an all-day locker pass. Another thing that's worth the splurge is to purchase the AllDay Dining, and that's because it's actually more cost-effective to purchase the AllDay Dining than it is to purchase your meals separately. With the AllDay Dining Pass, you can grab a meal once every 90 minutes. One tactic that we use for making this work for us is that we set our alarm clock on our phone for 90 minutes so that we can know when it is coming up on a time when we'll be able to go through the line and make the purchase again. Keep in mind that when you go through the line, you don't have to get a full meal every single time, so you can use this all-day dining pass at select locations around the park to even get a beverage or get a dessert or get a snack. And by doing that, you'll be able to maximize the value. But even if you're just going to purchase 2 meals in the park, we found that it was much more cost effective to purchase the all-day dining pass. Also, when it comes to dining, the Zambia Smokehouse was our absolute favorite. We do recommend that you try to go in off-peak hours if you're going to go to this location though, because it does fill up very quickly and the lines can get very long. Okay, we're still waiting. Another great thing to know about food at Busch Gardens is that throughout the year there are a number of festivals, and with each of the festivals you can purchase a lanyard which will allow you to sample a certain number of items, and one of the lanyards allows you to sample up to 50 items. We found that purchasing one lanyard is enough to feed our entire family so that we're full. So this can be a really great option since the dining plan is not shareable. Another important tip to know about visiting Busch Gardens in Tampa Bay is that there are a wonderful selection of animal exhibits to enjoy. Our favorites are the gorillas, the orangutans, and the cheetahs. But we found that, as with any zoo, you're more likely to be able to view these animals if you try to visit them earlier in the day. Some of it may have to do with some of their eating times, but mostly I think it has to do with the Florida heat. As it gets really hot outside, many of these animals tend to try to seek shelter and take naps in the middle of the day, and it makes it so that it can be difficult to be able to get all of your animal viewing experiences in. There are also numerous premium animal interaction experiences, which are available for purchase. And I'll place a link to that in our description below. Because we know that Busch Gardens is home to some of the tallest, steepest, fastest roller coasters in all of Florida, we were actually quite pleasantly surprised by how many rides and attractions were available for toddlers, preschoolers, and young children. While we were aware of the Sesame Street Safari of Fun, we actually learned that there were a lot of other rides for children to ride in other sections of the park as well. And finally, if you're visiting any theme park in Florida, then you should know that Florida weather is highly unpredictable. Even the meteorologists don't necessarily get it right. The summer months can be the most unpredictable of all, with sudden rain showers happening at any time. This means that as you plan your trip, you should have some backup plans for if the weather doesn't work in your favor. You could happen to go on a day where all of the roller coasters are closed as a result of high winds or lots of rain or thunder and lightning. And all of these things, of course, are for your safety, but it can be disappointing if you've planned your entire vacation around having just one day at Busch Gardens. For more great Busch Gardens content, click this playlist right here.